In the quiet corners of celebrity history, there are stories that move slowly, painfully slowly, stories that unfold not with excitement, but with a heavy silence. And at 70, the tragedy of Rowan Atkinson, the man the world knows as Mr. Bean, has become a kind of sadness that does not shout, it simply lingers. Today, we will walk step by step, slowly into the life of a man who made the world laugh, while quietly carrying burdens almost no one ever talks about. Rowan Atkinson, a name that instantly paints a picture of a silent, confused man with a teddy bear, a tiny green car, and an expression that feels both empty and full of questions. Millions of people around the world think they know him, but almost no one actually does, because Rowan Atkinson's real life is nothing like his on-screen personality, where Mr. Bean is loud without speaking. Rowan is quiet, even when he speaks. Where Mr. Bean is childish, Rowan is deeply serious. Where Mr. Bean appears carefree, Rowan has spent decades quietly dealing with fear, isolation, personal loss, and the crushing weight of fame he never asked for. This story is not exciting. It is slow. It is heavy. It is quiet, just like Rowan himself. And that is exactly how it should be told. Chapter 1. The unlikely beginning. When Rowan Atkinson was born on January 6, 1955, in Consett, County Durham, England, nothing suggested he would one day become one of history's most iconic comedic characters. His childhood was uneventful, in the plainest sense possible. He was quiet. He was shy. He rarely spoke unless spoken to. Teachers described him with simple, boring words: reserved, silent, difficult to read, not extraordinary, not special, just quiet. Rowan was not the boy who made everyone laugh. He was the boy who sat alone at the back of the room, thinking, observing, analyzing every little detail about people, something he would later use to shape Mr. Bean. But back then, that silence was seen as odd. He had a speech problem, a stutter that made him avoid conversations. Speaking felt like walking through mud, slow, heavy, exhausting. This quiet, introverted child would one day become the king of nonverbal comedy. But at that time, no one expected it, not even Rowan himself. Chapter 2. The weight of being different. Growing up, Rowan had one thing that separated him from everyone else: not talent, not confidence, but fear. Fear of speaking, fear of being noticed, fear of being misunderstood. And that fear stayed with him, silently, for decades. Even when he entered Newcastle University to study electrical engineering, he still avoided large groups. He walked slowly, spoke slowly, laughed rarely. People who met him then had no idea that this slow-paced, almost invisible young man was quietly building one of the most iconic characters in comedy history. Later, Rowan moved to Oxford University, but even there, surrounded by brilliant students, he stayed quiet, introverted, analytical.
While others dreamed loudly, Rowan dreamed silently. He watched people not to judge them but to understand how they moved, how they reacted, how they expressed emotion without words. While the world thought he was boring, he was actually preparing. Quietly, slowly, patiently. Chapter 3. The Accidental Comedian. Rowan never planned to become a comedian. He wanted to be an engineer, a logical, predictable, stable career. But life slowly and without drama pushed him in another direction. One evening at Oxford, Rowan had to perform a last-minute sketch because another student canceled. He stepped on stage hesitant, awkward, uncomfortable. He tried to speak. His stutter fought back. So, he didn't speak. And the audience loved it. They laughed at the expressions he made without even trying to be funny. His face was naturally expressive, like an empty canvas waiting to be filled. That night, Rowan discovered something unexpected. He didn't need words. He didn't need speed. He didn't need confidence. He just needed his face. A slow, simple, silent discovery that would change his life. Chapter 4. The Birth of Mr. BA and a character built from pain. Years later, while sitting alone in his hotel room, Rowan looked at himself in the mirror and experimented with facial expressions. Not joy, not excitement, but confusion, fear, helplessness. Those expressions were not random. They came from years of quietly feeling out of place. The character that formed that night would become Mr. Bean. But here is the truth. Mr. Bean was not created for laughter. He was created from loneliness. Rowan once said, "Mr. Bean is a child in a grown man's body." That's what makes him funny and sad at the same time. Behind the silly actions was a silent reflection of Rowan's own childhood fears. A character that entertained the world, but revealed the private sadness of the man who created him. Chapter 5: The Price of Global Fame. When Mr. Bean first appeared on television in 1990, no one expected it to explode into a worldwide phenomenon. No loud marketing, no dramatic trailers, just a quiet, strange man doing ordinary things in extraordinary ways. But success came with its own tragedy. Because Rowan never wanted fame, he never liked attention. He disliked interviews, events, and public appearances. And Mr. Bean made him one of the most recognizable faces on Earth. Suddenly, a man who feared social situations was being watched by over 1 billion people. Everywhere he went, airports, restaurants, hotels, even private holidays, people would approach him expecting Mr. Bean. But Rowan is nothing like Mr. Bean. This mismatch slowly became exhausting, emotionally draining, and eventually isolating. Rowan once said, "I created a monster. Mr. Bean gets attention. Rowan does not." That sentence alone reveals the heartbreaking weight he carried. Chapter 6: The Tragedy Behind the Smile, Fear, Anxiety, and Loneliness. Rowan Atkinson suffers from intense social anxiety.
He hates crowds. He avoids fame. He struggles with public interaction. But his character forced him into all of that. Mr. Bean was supposed to be simple fun, but it became a cage, a global symbol he could never escape, a shadow that followed him everywhere. He once stopped traveling alone because people would surround him, touching him, grabbing him, asking him to do the face. Imagine being 70, still being chased by a role you created 35 years ago. Imagine being known by billions, yet feeling completely unseen as a person. That is the tragedy of Rowan Atkinson. Chapter 7: Personal Losses. In painful chapters being the public image of comedy, Rowan dealt with a difficult divorce along battles with anxiety, a near-fatal car crash, years of media harassment, losing privacy, completely being mocked for his looks for decades, and the constant pressure to be funny even when he wasn't okay. But Rowan never talked about these tragedies loudly. He absorbed them quietly, silently, painfully. Everything about his life is quiet tragedy, slow tragedy.